is Gussie Carr Fuller, and I have the pleasure of having in studio with me Mr. Cameron Neal of hold on, let's do this right, Cameron. Cool Comic Creations, which is a media, arts, and entertainment business. You are a young entrepreneur, is that right, Cameron?
That's correct. I'm a young entrepreneur, and I've kind of been doing this since I was 7 years old.
Wow, yeah, incredible. Look, just reading through your bio, reading what you've accomplished already at such a young age, right, is incredibly impressive. So I want to just take a little time to let our listeners know who you are, and how you got into graphic design and media creation. I mean, film, the stories that you tell across so many platforms is incredible. So let's open it up. Cameron, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, so growing up, I kind of wasn't like the same as I would say everybody else. I liked Disney cartoons quite a bit as a child.
Okay.
I was very into video games, cartoons, comics, but I always knew I wanted to create in the same way. One of my biggest inspirations was Walt Disney, and as a child, I wanted so badly to make sure that like I would be like him. So I was like, how do you become Walt Disney?
Wow.
And so I would spend a lot of time thinking, what did Walt Disney do to become this way? And I remember I would spend a lot of times looking up, okay, how do you become a good animator? How do you make comics? How do you do these things?
Yeah.
And luckily my mom was very involved with making sure me and my brother were different. Like she would support our dreams, and she did not keep us from pursuing them. So we would spend a lot of times just going to camps, taking digital art classes. I went to a film camp, so I learned about like film and editing, and coding, all types of things.
Yeah.
And so it was just like nothing was off limits to us. And she always was like, you can do what you want as long as you can come up with a plan. So I decided to just kind of pursue that.
Okay.
And for most of my life, I've spent a lot of time just kind of like just trying to figure out how to make things happen. And so I spend a lot of time designing and developing theories because I didn't just want to be Walt Disney. I honestly wanted to compete with Disney Studios.
What? I'm looking at the theory of design. Tell us game design, film, just so much here. Comics.
Yeah.
So what does that even mean? What is the theory of design?
So, and a lot of my stuff, so growing up, I consumed a lot of media. So like my dad loves the movies. So his thing was in summer to go to the movies all the time. And we would like spend watching thousands and thousands of movies. And I'm almost certain we went to movie theater so much that they literally thought of us as like, oh, hey, it's y'all.
Like family reunion.
Yeah, and they were like, here's your seat, sir. You know, like, and like, right this way. And so I learned a lot about storytelling through that.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking to myself, okay, if I want to be the best, how do I be the best? And so I started dissecting and pretty much pouring through all the information out there. I'm a very big self-learner. So I thought to myself, if I could become great, you have to be great. You have to figure out how to be great. Right. So I would just take books and I would glean information and I would come up with theoretical concepts. When I come to, like different theory, there's actually different design theories for different things, but a lot of it is just for me trying to problem solve and reach an end. For video game design, I actually had to developed a design theory that focused on personality types and trying to figure out how to open up demand for video games to people who don't think of themselves as gamers. So
wow. Okay, wait. I need you to rewind and repeat that again because that was pretty complicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically,
you're very deep, Cameron.
Yeah. I'm not trying to
You're
be
a student of your craft, clearly. Okay, so say that again.
So basically, at one point, I got a contract to work with the studio, me and my brother, for our company, to work with a studio that worked on personality diversity.
Okay.
And trying to intervene based on people's communication styles. And through my learning of personalities and research and study for them, it helped me to realize that a lot of reasons why people weren't playing video games because as a medium was because a lot of times people didn't recognize that they had certain inclinations to certain styles of games. And so I was trying to mathematically derive how to figure out what people want by breaking down it into a theory. Like a long time ago, a lot of people felt like there was no real system of theory for game design. So I was trying to solve that and try to do that. And I did come up with it, by the way.
Yeah.
It's actually patent pending. I'm actually I'm trying to patent it so that I can put it as a power for a streaming service. But the theory is called the Game Developer's Diamond. Basically, it's complicated. I don't want to put it over here. But it's like, basically, I derived that all video games and the concept of video games come down to 4 basic categories.
Okay.
And then there's increments of...
We don't want you to share what you can't share, but I know you know that. Okay,
yeah. And that's how I came up with that theory. And then I also came up as an artist. I draw a lot. I wanted to figure out how to make sure how I draw purposefully, and I'm always on point with what I'm drawing for my characters because I come up with a lot of stories. And I used to be so frustrated as a kid because I couldn't draw well, and I had these ideas in my head.
Yeah.
And I would draw a line and then pick it up and crumple paper up and throw it away.
You scrutinize yourself too hard.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
So I was like, what can I do? So because I'm a problem solver, I'm like, okay, I hate this.
Yeah.
So how do I make sure, what does it take to be a great artist? And so I came up with the system of character design I call Riffs and People's Please. It's like a mathematic order.
Read about that,
Yeah. It's like a mathematic order of operations, but it's artistic order of operations. So basically it's like I broke it down to what starts first, like with your reference.
Yeah.
Like figuring out what you're trying to create, gathering what they call a visual vocabulary in art.
Yeah.
And then breaking it down to form, like which is your outline, a rough outline. Then it's a lot. It's like every line.
This is great. So let me tell you how I'm listening and I'm tracking from the behavioral health side of it.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing the relationship because that's what you're doing. You're looking at human behavior
Yeah.
inside of that in the math and the science.
Yeah.
And then you're translating it into gaming.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I'm about to totally show my age here. So I used to think in my day I was pretty stiff, right? As the kids used to say at Super Mario. How old is that? Like 40 years now. So what would make my inclination to Super Mario determine me or designate me as a certain personality type, if you will? I know you mentioned that a few minutes ago, versus the craze of kids, to include my son years ago with Fortnite, right? Like, I don't want to shoot anybody. I don't want to do any of that, right? Maybe that's just part of my generation. But I love Super Mario.
So basically, the way my system works is a lot of times it would be a thing where I would actually derive what you want. So in my system, they have something called gameplay mechanics. And in video games, it's called gameplay mechanics. So when you say you like Super Mario, the way my algorithm works basically is that it would look at what you like and what you don't like, and then it would try to connect you directly to games that contain the same thing. But it would also determine the type of personality that people who like these games are. You would be categorized. It's kind of like Myers-Briggs. There's only 12 of them.
Yes.
But there is a mathematic ratio of how much you have from each of the 4 categories I developed. And I can't go too much into the sauce.
No worries.
Because the sauce is
after you get your patent, because you clearly get that patent, then I want to do whatever I need to do so I can figure out, like, why I have such a deficit on the back end with gaming.
Well, it's more like, it's trying to figure out, because I have a prototype, and I actually met a dude who says he's not into video games too. I was actually mentoring his son on how to do comics and make money off of it. And I showed him my prototype. I had a personality test. He did it, and then he had this one of his personalities come up, and it matched him to a game. He asked me what was this game about. He's never heard of it. He's a very business, strategic minded. It's a game called Civilization, and I was telling him it's like you basically.
Just my interest.
You basically control a government and you try to rule and outmaneuver every other nation and like conquer the world.
That's my kind of game. What is that?
It's called Civilization. So, and he was like, wow, like, and he was like, so it was like I upselled him, which is kind of what the system is meant to do.
Right.
And a long time ago, I was at a startup accelerator, and he wanted to help me, but it was so many other businesses he was working with. But he was an older man, and he was like, if I could figure out what my young grandson would like, I would most likely want to, use your system, because then I would just know exactly what they like, because you already have their personality and you're matching it to the games. So that's what I'm working on. Like as a big, that's the big project. The small thing I'm working on right now is just a web comic with the guy I have hired who's working with me from Dominican. We're working together, and we're gonna launch on Webtoons August 20th. So,
wow. This is August 1st, so congratulations. This is launch month.
Yeah. Like,
you're T-minus 20 days
Yes,
now.
I know. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And then I know you have other projects to include, your partnership with us, and we'll talk about that, a little bit later, but wow, Cameron. So what is a day in the life for you? Because it sounds so busy. It sounds like that.
But I love to work. Like to me, I love problem solving.
That's your life. Well, you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even, we call it work, but it probably doesn't even feel like it. Until we overload you with stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mental health, so we're just gonna be real.
Yeah, it's true. Like, cause I'm juggling like 3 things. I'm working with you all.
Yes.
Then I'm working on my business, and then I'm also going to school.
Right.
So it's like sometimes it gets like, but I've been good at like compartmentalizing. I guess.
Yeah. You have good boundaries. You hold them.
I do. I would say I'm not gonna lie and say that school is probably like on the lower end, like, cause I'm faster at it. So like I just completely take school.
Yeah.
And then I just like, okay, it's a due date.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Gosh. So what are you majoring in?
Right now, actually, business. I just decided I wanted to just have a background of business degree, even though I know I'm an entrepreneur and I want to work for myself or partner with people to
but
build
you'll have business precepts. You'll know what the tenets are.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow, incredible. See, so I'm glad I asked that question, because I would have stereotyped and thought it was something along gaming or even computer science or something. You know what I mean? So that's why you don't ever judge a book by its cover.
Well, I mean, I would have probably tried to do that, but I realized that stuff I learned and been learning since I was 7. Like, I have a drive to learn that, so I don't have to technically have that for me. I know what I really would like is a business degree, because I feel like that's what I need, because really and truly I just want someone to fund my projects. I don't really
and it makes sense, right? And respectfully, you're kind of balancing out your perspective, because you're not just I don't want to use the word just. Let me say you're not singularly an artist.
Yeah.
Right? You also have a business acumen that you're developing with the major. So that's very smart to balance that out. So when you get this funding, and those that will learn about your business and your talent, then you'll know exactly how to speak their language too, right?
True.
No one will not, they won't take advantage of you. Unfortunately, we see that a lot with artists across the realm. It is the age-old story.
It really is.
And it's so sad, because it just seems like it's never going away. It's just the next generation of the same tragedy.
A lot of times,
talent taken advantage of from the business model.
Yeah, I always feel like a lot of times it's because they don't want to really deal with details. They just want to create.
They just want to create.
And I think that sometimes people assume or presume everybody's out for their best interest, but I don't take that presumption.
So I feel like that's a whole nother segment that you can put together, like a online series, right? Because you are coming from someone or others that are not artists, right? A hardcore creative may think, you don't understand, because that's not you. You're on the business side of it. But you are a hybrid. You're like, no. I'm an artist through and through, but let's stop being taken advantage of, y'all. Let's figure out the fundamentals at least, if nothing else. And you got to know that people know, just like anything else, when they can take advantage of you, because they know that you don't know, and then they'll feed you what you want. So we're going to set you up to be just fly, creative, fly, and then they're doing the books, cooking the books.
That's exactly true. Well, I mean, I'm also someone who just tries to learn from experience. I've watched enough behind the music, and no. I always told my friend that you need to make money as a creative. A lot of creatives don't think about that, because they're just thinking. My friend, I said, because when the money ran out for our project with to help me develop the Game Developers Diamond, we went to the crash. And since then, I've been trying to get another project off the ground. But it was like when money dissipates, it's like you no longer have the engine. So I told my friend, money is like blood in a business. You need to have it circulate properly to flow. You don't want it to flow too fast, and you don't want it to be so slow, because in health, that's destructive if it's either way. Yeah. So You don't want the clock. So he was like, that's true.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Incredible. Well, Cameron, look, I appreciate just you opening the world up. Like, you've given me a broader perspective in just one segment on the appreciation for a business minded creative, or a creative with a business mind. And I want us to, in our next segment, when we come back, I'd love to hear more about how you create your ideas, right? What or who inspires you? I can imagine what that's going to be like. So we're going to take a minute and thank the amazing 102.5 for holding this space for us. To host NAMI Now You Know, stay with us. We're going to thank our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Cameron Neal. So stick around.